Hello and welcome back to the Perception Podcast, where we just see things a little bit differently. In this episode, I wanted to talk a little bit about school. As many of you know, I'm in my last year in year 13, applying for uni this year. I was thinking about taking a gap year. I've decided at this moment in time, may still decide that is the best course for me, but at this moment in time, I'm not choosing to do the gap year. I'm choosing to go straight to uni. I want to talk a little bit about the anxiety around this process that's maybe not often associated to it, because the majority of students might not have anxiety and all stuff like this. But I just want to talk a little bit about my anxiety around the process and just overall how things have been going, why I haven't maybe done this as regularly because I've had so much more on my plate and I've had to prioritize a couple of things. And yeah, just talk about how my life's been recently. So if we're going about things chronologically, obviously my start to year 13 has been full on, hectic, my most busy year in school so far by a mile. GCSE prep years didn't even come close. Obviously, I didn't do my GCSEs, but I still did like the busy build up to it. As probably most of you will know, if you haven't done your GCSEs yet, that is a full on period of time when you're just revising, studying, all of them things. But I swear to God, whoever, that this last year of A-level year 13 has been 100 times more full on. And that isn't me being hyperbolic, that isn't me exaggerating. It's just the workload I think we're doing for A-levels doesn't really help me, and the fact that it's not even like maybe three essay-based A-levels and one that I just do for fun. The fact that they're four essay-based subjects: government and politics, history, English and philosophy, really in-depth, really hard subjects, at least I think so. I think it's just added to that workload. But yeah, it's definitely been a bit full on, it's definitely been busy, and I've kind of been struggling a lot recently with kind of managing my mental health and finding times to take breaks. And then when I do take breaks, it seems like I'm missing out on loads of work that then I need to catch up on, which only adds to it. Or when I then do catch up and kind of go full force again, it seems like my body's given out on me. I think I was at school less than 75% of the time this first half term, which is just not good enough, especially with the amount of course that you have to get through and all of that. But I think it's just literally my body giving up on me, because it's like I'm just working it way harder than it ever has worked before. It's definitely starting to adapt, but it's a slow and strenuous process. And obviously, I don't want to scare anybody about the A-level year. Obviously, everybody knows that it is busy, it is full on, as I've already said. But I think it's just me with my brain, it just blows things way out of proportion. And even if in reality they're not that big, they're kind of small tasks that I can get through every day, that I have to get through every day, sorry. I think the depression kind of feeds into that as well, where small tasks seem kind of like insurmountable. We watched a video on mental health, World Mental Health Day or something like that, and it did talk about that. So I think all these little things adding up, my anxiety, my depression, whatever you want to call it, has just made all these little tasks I have to get through every day, every lesson that's only an hour long, seem like 5 hours long, making me fall asleep in class and all sorts, which is really not helping with the workload. But then to kind of counteract that, I've been trying to get as much sleep as possible. Obviously, with me, that's not the easiest of things. And so far, we're on a 2 week half-term break at the minute, and I've just really been trying to, obviously, I'm still going to get my work done, but I'm really just trying to take some time for me, trying to have some time in the house even by myself, and just really try and relax and not just play computer, not just do like material things, but do things that help me to relax and help me to stay calm. And I'm planning in these next week or so to kind of set a game plan moving forward of what I need to do and when by, because it's all getting a bit surreal now with all these deadlines and stuff, and I definitely need a bit of organisation in my life, because otherwise I know it will just become overwhelming and I'll kind of just give up. But as I said before, as a little bit of a disclaimer, my mind blows things way out of proportion. And even though it is tough, it's a challenge that I'm sure a lot of people will be able to work through and all stuff like that. As I just say, it seems like an insurmountable foe at the minute. But I will get through it and I will get past it. It's just my brain has a habit of blowing things out of proportion, so I need to be dramatic about it. It's a bit weird in that sense. But then I kind of want to move on to talk about the application process for uni as well. Earlier on, I said that I decided against the gap year, at least at the moment. and had decided to put my application in this year for unis. In the end, I decided on Durham for philosophy and politics, I think it was, philosophy at Warwick, film studies and philosophy at St Andrews, philosophy at St Andrews, and philosophy and theology at Oxford. A lot of philosophy in there, as you can probably tell. It is my favourite subject. I've kind of realised that in the last week or so that English, I really like it, but it's more of an interest. Politics is in one of my courses, but as well, I really like that, but it is more of an interest, whereas philosophy is what I can see myself kind of pursuing and doing in the future, which I think at this age, at 17, it's kind of ridiculous that they make you make these huge life choices right now anyway, but it's really good, at least for me, to kind of have that set in my mind that, yeah, I think, I don't know for certain, but that's the direction I want to go in. Obviously, for a lot of other people, they have no idea, and that's completely fine as well. My school's a bit rubbish at it, but you usually do have a counsellor and stuff to work through these things with your careers counsellor or something like that. And in your own mind, really, just you know what you like, so just kind of keep thinking about it and keep thinking about it and keep thinking about it, and eventually you'll come to some sort of decision. I don't think with me, it wasn't never 100%, and it probably isn't going to be 100%, but if that's your best idea, you've just got to go with it. And it's a bit stupid, as I said, that they make you decide at this age anyway. And as you probably definitely already know, that you can retrain as an adult as it is. It's just about making the decision now, making it early, so you kind of can set your goals moving forward. With that philosophy degree as well, I kind of want to make that kind of like a bachelor's in philosophy. As you know, I try and do things to like the highest standard. I'm like competing with myself. It's a bit unusual, but I kind of want to get my doctorate in philosophy and kind of go into counselling to help like young people, children and young adults, to kind of help them with the same things that I struggle with. And I know that might seem a bit counterintuitive, but I feel like a lot of the time when I've met counsellors and therapists and all stuff like that, I struggle to talk to them because it's clear, even though I can see they want to help me, they are there doing a job and they don't and have never experienced the same things as I'm talking about, so they won't be able to connect with me on the level that I'm looking for. And obviously, I won't have been through everything that every young kid and young adult would have been through, and won't be able to understand anything. But I think I'll be able to offer like a kind of unique perspective that I don't think there's enough of in this sector at the moment, especially a male's perspective. I think it's kind of missing. I've met a lot of women, a lot of helpful women, and I'm not disparaging that in any way. But I just think for a young boy, it might be helpful to see a disabled man that struggles with his mental health as a therapist, and maybe will be able to confide in me a bit more than the average counsellor. Well, at least that's what I'm hoping for anyway. And the application actual process, I struggled with it quite a lot actually, because there's all these little different things that you kind of have to answer. I did it through UCAS. Obviously, all over the world they'll have different things that you go through, and maybe different schools even in the UK they might use different organisations and stuff. But I think it's kind of the norm that you use UCAS for your university applications, at least here. And if you've ever done it before, you'll know that there's like about a million different questions that you need to answer. A bit weird ones as well, like gender, sexuality, and all stuff like that. Which I can kind of understand why they're asking you to, like, as it says on the website, to kind of point you towards groups and stuff like that that will hopefully help you with that. But at the same time, I think that a lot of the time people with different sexualities and different stuff like that will be able to point themselves in that own direction. And yeah, I found it a bit intrusive and stuff, but that's just probably my personality, that's a bit private and doesn't like sharing anything with anyone, especially a computer. But yeah, the rest of the application I found a bit difficult as well, because you obviously have to write a personal statement now. My mum kept saying that they never had to write them back then, so she had no idea how to write them. So I was kind of left like, right, I need to apply a lot earlier if I want to apply to Oxford, which I ended up doing the other day. So I need to be able to do it a lot quicker. I've got no idea how to write this, and I don't write in the same sense that they're looking for. Like they want a kind of a sales pitch in 4,000 characters, and I've never been very good at like selling myself. I'm very to the point. Like, I'm a mature person. I'm a resilient person. Like that's at least I think objective truths about me. But I'm not very good at like kind of skewing the narrative. Like, I showed this quality in this one sense, and that means I am this quality. No, because I've also shown the opposite in other scenarios. Do you know what I mean? So I kind of found it really hard to sell myself and stuff like that. But luckily, I got the help of one of my teachers who was able to kind of guide me through the process and amend things here and there, which I found really helpful, and definitely was a big help because otherwise I would have never got the application in on time. But then what was not helpful was that my head of sixth form decided that on the day, as I was leaving, not even like at the start of the day, decided to catch me and tell me that um, my current application was insufficient because I just didn't have this, that, and the other. So he sent me home that day, the last day of the half term, worrying and panicking. Granted, he obviously didn't want or mean to send me into a panic attack, but it did send me into an anxiety attack over what the hell was going on because I thought I was all set and ready, and then he basically told me, what am I trying to say? Told me that I had to scrap like basically everything that I'd already put together and get a reference, uh, answer some more questions and all sorts, which just sent my body and my mind kind of into overload. And I think this, obviously, that situation can't be helped. Yes, maybe he could have come earlier to tell me this, that, and the other, but I had been off quite a lot of the time. And yes, maybe I should have gone to him and clarified these questions, although I did think that what I had was sufficient. But I think it definitely highlights the point that even head to sixth form, uh, headmasters, whoever, teachers even, should read their pupils' EHCPs because I know that I'm not the only disabled one there and I'm not the only one with extra difficulties, but I see a lot of the time, and I know how difficult a teacher's job is, and I'm not trying to lessen that at all. But a lot of time is spent on uh, stupid, in my opinion anyway, things like, oh, make sure your tie's this 1 centimeter higher, just so at least in their mind it looks smart or whatever. When actual proper work needs to be done on reading the children's EHCPs, checking that they know the right information about the child, checking that they don't overload a person with information about the biggest decision in their life and then send them away in a cab with a stranger having a panic attack. That's always good, but I'm not angry at all at him, which you can probably tell by what I'm saying. Um, but yeah, I just think this whole situation over not not knowing how to approach different children with different issues and stuff like that can just be so easily solved, or at least helped by reading the HCPs. Because I've come across so many TAs and so many teachers in the past that I've had friction with, difficulties with, just because they don't understand my needs properly and don't understand what it says in my EHCP. So I've ended up having arguments and awkward discussions in the middle of my class where my peers are the people that like any teenager will know, like you get embarrassed over the slightest thing, especially at high school, having these really private, in-depth discussions that they should have already known by reading my EHC prior. So it just really annoys me that they spend time sorting out the uniform and all stuff like that, which obviously is a thing, but their priority should be knowing their students, knowing that they shouldn't, or it would help for them not to overload me with information like that. And especially because it was my university application, it just literally sent me over the edge because it was the most important decision of my life. And he decided an hour before I needed to actually send it off because the deadline was 6 p.m. that he needed to tell me all this new information that I needed to get sorted there and then. So that wasn't very helpful. It was very, very stressful, but at least it's done now. At least I've applied now and I've started getting emails from university saying they've received it. So it must have all gone through, it must have all worked. So that calmed me down a little bit. And finally, I just kind of wanted to touch on why I applied to Oxford and what I kind of want to do moving forward now. And this might seem a bit of a weird topic for this kind of podcast where it's about mental health and all stuff like that, but for a long time with me, it was all about I wasn't as good as other kids physically or um, in a lot of the categories that you kind of get judged as a kid, especially by your other mates or the other people in your class and teachers and stuff like that. So academic wise was always my strong point and something that even unconsciously for a long time I didn't realise like I prioritised over everything and that I was competing with myself to get good in so that it kind of disregarded the fact that I was disabled or I was bigger than fatter than the average kid or something like that. So I always put the academia side to kind of like the forefront. And for a long time, that kind of went unnoticed, as I said, and kind of affected me unconsciously until I realised. And then a long time ago, I kind of realised this, and I was hell bent on applying to Oxford and going to Oxford because it's Oxford. Do you know what I mean? It's even though they're trying to become more of an everyday university now. You look at the history, and it's one of the best universities in the world. Like a couple of maybe 100 miles away or something. So I was like, I'm definitely going there. Nothing's going to stop me from going there. And then when I kind of realised that it was affecting like my health, mental health, everything, trying to go there because of all the extra work and that, I kind of put it to the back burner and said, "Oh, I'm not going to apply there because it's not worth the stress and the graft that it's going to cause me." But then recently, kind of like a week ago, which is mental when you think about what a big decision it is, I was kind of like, no, I'm not going to just disregard it. I'm going to keep it as one of my options. I'm probably not going to go there, but I just want to apply, see if they would even want to do an interview with me or accept me or anything like that. I wanted to keep it as one of my options because at the end of the day, it's a great university and it's great at philosophy, which is what I want to obviously go and study. So obviously, as I've said, I decided a week ago to kind of apply there, got it all sorted, very last minute, and as I was talking about a minute ago, very hectic, very stressful, but I've got it done. I've got a test on the 3rd of November. I don't know where it is, which is a bit worrying, but I'm going to email my school about that. For the philosophy test, for the entrance test for Oxford, I think at a test centre. So that's quite exciting on the 3rd of November, which is, I say a few days away, a couple of weeks away now. So yeah, it's all kind of moving, getting a bit real at the moment. Kind of these like it's Oxford University. I'm going to go do a test against Oxford University. Just saying that sentence is a bit mental to me, but I didn't want to kind of put this on here to weirdly boast or something like that. What I really want to stress in this point is that although there's certain things that may be affecting your health or your mental health in different ways, and a lot of the time these could be like unconscious things that you don't even realize and affect you kind of in the background. Um, it's always good to kind of take stock of yourself and realize what is affecting you, and hopefully you do kind of cotton onto it and clock onto it. Because as I say, for a long time I didn't realize some of the things that were affecting me, and I probably won't for a few years or maybe never know everything that affects me in all these different ways. But it's always good to kind of reflect on yourself and figure out what you can. But at the same time, even though I found out that Oxford was the thing that was stressing me out and kind of playing on my mental health, it's always good not to just think, all right, then I'll just get rid of that. Oh, I can't possibly do that because it's negatively affecting me in this way. You can still do it. You just have to find your way of doing it, which will, although be tough and challenging, won't like be detrimental to your mental health, but at the same time you can still kind of get through and you'll feel a sense of achievement at the end, which is what I definitely did with Oxford. Because as I said, I felt like not applying at all a couple of months ago, and now recently I just have applied and just got through that kind of mental barrier, mental block. So yeah, I actually felt quite proud of myself for once, and definitely something that I'd encourage people listening or whoever to do is just like, even though it may be a challenge, to kind of like face it front on. Because even if Oxford hadn't worked out for me and I hadn't applied for them, I'd have just taken them off my UCAS list, replaced it with another course, and then applied much later when everybody else does. So just have a safety net, take on challenges and all stuff like that. Hopefully you can kind of get what I mean by that. But I found that kind of interesting in the last week or so, like what I've gone through mentally. Kind of, I had that realization a couple of days ago, and how in my life every challenge that I've kind of faced, some I haven't taken on and kind of regretted actually, but the ones that I have often led to like kind of the biggest breakthroughs and developments in my life really. But yeah, this episode's definitely gone on way longer than I meant it to. It was supposed to. That's kind of good. It's turned into an actual normal length episode than the shorter one that I was talking about last time. But hopefully you have enjoyed. Hopefully, yeah, it's just kind of a recap of my time away and what I've been kind of doing in that time, how I've had to prioritize school and stuff like that. As always, share and download the podcast if you can. If we get it to as many people as possible, then it's got a better chance of helping one or two people. So that's always great. As I said, I've got these 2 weeks off now, so hopefully I can get one or two more of these episodes in before I go back to school. And then that's how I think I'm gonna do it, just kind of whenever I can in the holidays, or if I kind of get a break in my workload. But hopefully I've enjoyed. I've definitely enjoyed catching up again and kind of getting some of the anxiety and some of the anger and stuff like that I've felt over the last week, because it has been really stressful. So I thank you guys and the podcast for that, because it's kind of a sounding board for myself. But that's all from me for now. Hopefully I'll see you very, very soon, and bye.